Self-introduction is a very, very important part, and in your first interviews, you're probably gonna have some issues introducing yourself. And this is actually the first impression about yourself to the recruiter or to the technical team. So you want to talk about yourself, right? And it's the very first question usually when the recruiter joins the call, or when there is someone from the tech team joins the call. And right from the beginning, they're not gonna ask you, "Hey, Alex, can you please introduce yourself?" No, they just gonna say something like, "Hi, my name is Peter. I'm gonna be I'm the recruiter at the Paramount Pictures, and thanks for joining today. We have this position opened, and we're excited you joining. And this is a great opportunity, and we have this project, and we have the company benefits, and everything is good. So, and I really excited about your resume, by the way. So if you don't mind, can you please briefly describe the recent experience, or can you please share with me more about yourself, or can you please give me the recent achievements or recent experience, anything you think would great to see, for me to see you with the recent most important skills or stuff like that. Like in general, tell me about yourself. This is the question. And many people who has a little experience, they would start saying, hey, my name is Alex. I'm originally from this country. I've been here for this time. I have family, my kids, blah blah. No, that's not what the recruiter or the hiring manager or the tech team is looking for to hear. So what they really want to hear is more about you, but from the perspective of the job, like from the quality assurance. Right, if you're applying for the quality assurance, you want to focus for your answers. Your answers have to be including that in any answer, and the self-introduction is not the exception. So you basically want to say that you right away want to say that so yeah, let me maybe talk about my recent experience, and you want to cover the experience maybe from the internship, and say, on my last project we tested the XYZ application, and it does it's a fitness application, or it's some language application, different type of industry have different things, but you can just briefly describe what is that about, and that's it. You don't have to explain the functionality of the app or of the website that you've been doing the testing. It's just sometimes the recruiter or hiring manager might ask you questions, and if they go too deep, you might get scared, right? Because you might don't have that much knowledge about the application or the website. So if in case that nobody do that, but in case some recruiter or someone is gonna ask you some weird questions, and how this work and how that feature work, not from the QA perspective, from the testing perspective, try to first answer that politely and professionally, explaining that feature from the QA perspective, and maybe say right away, yeah, this feature was a part of my maybe backlog for the sprint, and I did create a test cases, and then there were regression. Also, we added the test cases to regression set, and we did the execution. There were a few bugs. So yeah, maybe talk about that cycle, that development cycle and testing cycle, rather than answering, oh, this feature was working this way, so if you do this happens. No, you don't want to talk about the functionality of the app from the company there you still supposedly work, or where you work in the past, because there could be also a problem. No, there couldn't be any problems, but you also, as a last at very last, you can say something like, Hey, yeah, you know what? I don't think, yeah, I'm allowed to share that information because I signed the papers, non-disclosure papers from with the company in the past. So if you don't mind, let me more answer the questions about the testing or quality assurance, questions. That's very rarely, but just keep that in mind that the recruiters or anyone asking your interviewer, let's call it interviewer, actually is not legally allowed to ask you that questions about functionality of the app or the app itself too much. You know, that the high level, everything that if the app is available in App Store, the person can download and see the functionality. There is no way, there is no point to hide. Need to learn that app. I need to see and understand how does it work, what is that about. But in general, you want to control the answers because the question is going to be short and your answers must be full but concise. So this is an example on the screen. On my last project, we tested the XYZ application, and it was the fitness app based on subscription, for example. And the app has a client server architecture and has a front end and back end. So every sprint we were getting some new functionality from developers to do the testing. And I did test automation with Java and Selenium WebDriver. There was a framework that I was a part, like I was helping the QA lead to create and extend the framework from the very, very, very beginning. And eventually we automated a lot of manual test cases, and that help us to get to speed up the QA process and testing process. And because we run at the moment we execute the regression set way more faster than we used to do manually in the past. So and you want maybe to say so would you want me to talk more about the technology stack that we use for the framework, or you want to ask some other questions? So feel free to ask back for questions, because some of the students, they also would spend too much time explaining that about myself. You want to be short, and maybe if you don't feel that you fully answer the question, or you don't feel like where do you need to end, you also can say that, hey, do you want me to talk more about this, or you have any other questions? And the recruiter and the interviewer may say, yeah, can you talk little more about this? And you say, yeah, of course, so this and that. So you want to suggest the option where you want to go further, and at the same time to give the other option to maybe do you want to ask any questions? Because one of the issues I found, of course with a lot of experience, that some candidates, the students and in general not experienced candidates who wants to get a job, they also would not feel like when it's enough for the answer. So you want to really be a little more careful about that. Don't go too far. Don't jump from one subject to another. Try to be short and concise at the same time. And maybe if you're not sure that boundary, you want to just check, do you want me to speak more about that, or you have any other questions you want me to cover? So that's self-introduction. There are a few more examples. Tell me about yourself examples. You can find these examples also in the PDF for the manual QA. So that's probably also a good way to answer, saying that I have been working in quality assurance for the past 2 years, 3 years, and the amount of years or amount of months or weeks or days you want to talk about, you want to decide what do you want to share in your resume to the recruiters, and you want and the same number you want to follow and answer during the interview. And you definitely not sure at this point, probably not sure what the amount of years or months you want to specify. So we definitely not gonna talk to you one-to-one about that. No worries about that. We're gonna cover that. For now, just keep in mind that it's also a good idea to mention how much experience do you have. So, and you want to say, yeah, I've been working in QA for this time long, and making sure that everything works smoothly, looks and feels good. focusing on functional and UI testing. Want to say that if you work like you don't have experience with API and backend testing, and you have like Selenium, you WebDriver, experience. You want to say functional and UI testing or web testing, testing both web and API part of applications. So if you're not sure about that API part, you want to say testing web part of the application, making sure that the requirements are implemented and reporting issues to Jira. So you can even like learn this, and practice. Ask your, friend to ask you, like, tell me about yourself, and you might just learn the script. That's also fine for me. Like in my experience in the past, when someone was asking on the interview, tell me about yourself. For me, it was little stressful because I was prepared for the technical questions, good, but was self-introduction, talking about myself like for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. For me, it was, oh my god. And especially my English isn't original. I'm not originally from the United States or from UK, from any English-based countries. That was super stressful for me to answer. But try, if you're not sure, if you're stuck somewhere, you always can ask, do you want me to focus on this, or you have any other questions? And you want to say that, I was working on with Windows and Linux, and we were using the Chrome driver. I have a lot of experience with creating and maintaining QA documentations, like using X-Ray, and we did create the test cases, test executions, working with the tools. So like if you're not sure what is the Chrome Dev tool, definitely you want to skip that, and Postman as well, because these two are the API tools. And test automation supporting, including like the automation support, including reporting. So this answer is more like for manual QA, testers. So this is like something that also includes the API, and that's why you're seeing here, rest assured. But you want to talk more about UI and web test automation. You want to say, we did automation using the framework that was built based on Java, and I have this amount of years experience with Java, and mainly I was working with test automation with Selenium WebDriver, and we have the framework that also is based on the TestNG and Allure report, and it's Maven project, and we used a Bitbucket to do the peer review. So we had a team on this amount, like 3 people, 4 people amount, or you want to say 5 people amount, which is also fine. So usually our job was to execute that regression, partially automated regression, and provide the reports and create the bugs in case of any bugs, so that we provided the feedback to the managers, and they decide whether they want to go live with that product version or not. So that's something you want to say at the very beginning, and you may ask, feel free to ask if you have any specific questions. Here's more question examples, like tell me about your current job or current project. And you want to say maybe like it's all the same ideas we're covering over here, same as it was before. So I'm currently working as a test automation engineer in that company, and we've been automating the manual test cases for like this amount of months maybe. So far we have thousands of manual test cases, and we did automate 30% of them, and the automation helped us to get this to speed up the testing significantly. Now we would spend like a week instead of 2 weeks, and that help us to do the releases faster, and get the feedback, provide the feedback to the developers faster, so that they have time to fix the bugs earlier. It's we used a really robust framework that is based on Selenium WebDriver and TestNG, and it also has a Lua report. So I'm basically, duplicating everything I told before. So you want to talk about that, something like that. And you want to write down probably your self-introduction script so that you don't need to worry and keep creating some new scripts every single interview. So you want to write down your own script and you want to use it every single time. Maybe it's the same script for the interviews. Okay. So the homework. So something I want to do, something I want you to do for the homework. So the very first thing is I want you to answer as full as possible. Maybe spend a little more time than 20 minutes for the first one. So tell me about your past project and think about it. Maybe tell me about yourself would be the same idea. You still want to speak about the QA experience and the way you did testing. You did QA, automation QA on the project, right? So whenever person asks you, the interviewer is asking you about your past project or yourself or something else similar to that. So try to spend 5-7 minutes answering that. And if you're not sure, like you can even spend less. You can spend even a minute, but fully cover that from end to end, and then at the end asking you, do you want me to speak more about this, or you have answer other questions? So that's the intro, right? Tell me about yourself, tell me about your past projects. Please answer that. Spend maybe a little more time than 20 minutes specifically for this question. But for the remaining part of that questions, in general, try to not spend more than 20 minutes. So what testing types did you use? What testing types do you know? So that's a part of manual QA testing. It's also included in the unit number 1 with the manual QA classes, where we talk about testing types. It's very important, very popular actually questions, and you want to really easier answer that question with just the names of the types, like positive, negative, manual, automated, functional, non-functional, and blah 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 blah. And maybe ask, do you want me to give you some examples of any kind of types? And the person, yeah, go ahead. So do you want, go ahead, and you may say that, so the positive test case is about this one, negative test case is about that one, functional, non-functional, and you can talk more about that until, and the testing types, there are so many, you can check in PDF as well. There are so many, so you probably want to first mention those that you're definitely familiar with, and then maybe say there are plenty of others, but that's something I had in my mind for the at the time you asked me a question. Describe the test plan and test strategies. So what is a test plan? What the test strategies do you know, and what is that in general? You want to answer that as well. That's a theoretical question. Describe test case and bug field. So what is a test case and what the fields does it have, and what is the bug and report, and what the fields components do you know? Anything you want to include to that answer would be great. Describe Scrum ceremony. So guys, daily stand-up planning that goes before that, at the very beginning. Demo and a retrospective. If you're not familiar about that, again, that's a manual, that's a unit number 1. There are not that many classes, but those knowledge from there is very often asked. The questions from there very often asked during the interviews. Okay, in the practical, what will you do if the developer will tell you it's not a bug, it's a feature? So you want, probably have a call with that person, share the screen, or you want to make a recording of your screen and explain that you use this version of the browser or this version of the app, and that's how you're reproducing, and maybe ask developers to do the same, so you can compare the versions you used and the types of browsers or anything like that with between each other. And then ideally, in the fastest way, is have a video call, sharing the screen, and find out why the developer couldn't manage that. But it's the question, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's actually more about requirements. So probably developer understood that this functionality it's probably for the first sight doesn't work as expected, but he or she means that there is a requirement for that. So that's the way it's supposed to work. So you want to double check the requirement, you want to see, you want to make sure it's correctly working, and maybe you can ask developer to double check, and maybe ask for the requirement location so that you can double check about it more. Okay, please write the program to reverse a string. So reverse a string. So you have, for example, I don't know, homework, and you need as output for the method you want to have KROWEMOH in return. So that's a practical, right? That's already, the automation part of the interview. So what is the difference between linked list and array list? So this is a collections data structure, and you want to know the answer. This is a little more senior question, but very often you would hear that on that interviews. So what TestNG annotations do you use, and what kind of annotations do you know? So this is important. You want to explain that the task annotation is the number one. After method, before method, after task, before task. You want to give an idea about the difference. So after method is basically executed after method. After class, it's executed after class. Very simple. But also that task might have different attributes like a name, description, groups, and you can explain anything you know more about the annotations. And also the data provider is also annotation. It's that TestNG. You want also to mention that. It's very, very important. So that data provider would allow you to re-execute the same test case but with a different data set. So for example, you have a test case that verifies the sign in or login, and you have like different sets of login and password, and the expectation, the expected result will be different depending on what login and password you're gonna use. So you can have one test case, and with a three, login and password, three combination of login and password, and three expected result. Using that annotation data provider, you can run the same test case and get the basically three execution results for the same test case. Also, 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, there are three questions that probably, we were not covering those questions on the program, and that's why it's highlighted. So sometimes on some interviews, you will be also asked about SQL, about Unix, about the API. You also, obviously, if you're not sure what is that and how, you don't know about that, you can say, I'm not familiar with SQL. However, if you see that the SQL, for example, is a part of the requirements for the job description, you want to learn at least something, so reach out to us. We're definitely gonna give you some ideas where to learn and how to learn. We also have classes available in Spin Career for SQL, for Unix, for API. So feel free to learn more, or we can recommend you a small course where you can learn, and that's an additional thing. But right now it's not priority. It's like additional thing because the IT, the Java is a huge career path, so you're gonna need to learn eventually so much more. But what the program covers is a really like a skeleton and foundation, and eventually you're gonna see what else do you want to add to your skills, so you got more opportunities in the future. And the last question, brain mail, to tell us about the time your previous employment when you had a disagreement with a team member. What was the situation? How did you solve it? So disagreement, right? You want to talk to the person really respectfully, politely, like you're an expert in the field. If at the same time you're seeing that you guys cannot manage that disagreement or conflict, you want to maybe involve the HR, human resource person, so that he or she can hear your opinion and your team member. opinion and can help you guys to resolve the conflict or any disagreements you have. So yeah, guys, so please feel free to attach the answers to that questions to our homework, to the task. Make a screenshot of that. I would recommend to write down the answers in with your pen on the copy of the paper, and then make just a picture and attach that picture to the task, or simply send us a picture to our email.